Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we read 2 chapters of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. That was chapters 67 and 68. And now we're going to talk about them for your listening pleasure. I almost said viewing. It's not viewing. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, there's like a image that goes along with it, but it's not terribly interesting viewing. So for your listening pleasure. In these chapters, first we go to a party with Dalinar. And things have something has happened. Something is going on behind his back, and I think we get halfway through the chapter before we figure out what the hell's going on. But he tries to turn it around. And then we have chapter 68, Bridges, where Shallan has gotten out onto the Shattered Plains along with Adolin and Kaladin and Dalinar. The whole crew is heading out. And there's a lot of talk about bridges, both mechanical and man-carried. And then the bridge lets Kaladin down, figuratively and literally. I'm Data, and with me this week is
Dak,
Joe,
and Jamie.
So hang on something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, just 2 chapters this time, a little bit longer chapters. Before we actually get into it, I want to let everybody know, next week I'm going to be off at Dragonsteel Nexus 2024. So I will not be able to record either of the nights that we would usually record. I think one of those nights I'm going to the World Hoppers Ball. And so I gotta decide if I've never tried to travel with like a suit before. I may need a garment bag or check or carry on rather. I'd figure that out. But anyway, so we won't be able to record one next week. I may try to, if I can figure out something to record at the convention, just to show some cool stuff. Maybe we'll have a video episode of the podcast that will be, I don't know, maybe just do a mainly YouTube thing, or maybe it'll be a Patreon thing, or maybe I will not find time to record anything, but I'm considering that possibility. But anyway, there will be no regular episode the week after this one because I will be unavailable. So just to let you guys know up front. So, for the chapters we read this time, what did you guys think of these 2 chapters?
Yeah, they were good. Again, I feel like, all right, we're getting things more in place for whatever's going to come next. I particularly love Dalinar's just boss move, and it's like, all right, so they're spreading out rumors that I've lost my mind and all this stuff, so I'm just going to own it. I'm just going to say, yep, everything I saw there is true. Come at me. I'm like, all right, that was pretty cool. I'll pay that. I did like, in the second chapter, Shallan calling out Kaladin as well. It's like, Adolin's actually making an effort. You can stop being such a dick. So like that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't think Kaladin is entirely blameless in the situation, but we can see that Adolin is making the effort now. Also, Shallan also has been kind of a dick to Kaladin in the past, so I was like, this can go every direction, but it was nice to see someone actually taking the first step and calling it out. So that was good. But yeah, and then odd little wrinkle to throw at the end. Now they're down in the chasms, and with all there's a whole lot of talk about a chasm fiend down there, so that should be fun. But yeah, fun and games.
Have we ever actually run into a cat? Like, ever since the first book, when they had to go down there, we've been talking about there's a chasm fiend hanging around down there somewhere. Have we run into one down there, actually? I don't recall.
There was, wasn't there a chapter where it was like Kaladin and the Lopen were down there and they saw one moving like through the chasm from a distance and they were just like, sit down, shut up, wait for it to go by?
Maybe. That seems like a possibility. I know they've seen like scratches down there that indicate one maybe had been around, but I couldn't remember if they actually physically saw one. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I like Shallan like just calling Kaladin on some of his shit and being like, really, Adolin, like the hardest guy in the world to get along with, and then you see him like hanging out with some dark-eyed kids and having fun. But on the other hand, Adolin still does call him Bridge Boy, which is a little bit demeaning, I feel like. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, Kaladin isn't entirely unjustified, but he seems to take it further.
He's just not a happy guy in general, which Shallan also points out. Like,
that
he's
is
an
true,
unpleasant dude, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, these chapters, I mean, it feels like something big happened right at the end, so there was some kind of bits and bobs that were kind of leading us this way. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most about these chapters is Kaladin kind of figuring out like, oh, I've really screwed up here by the decisions that I've made, and I've like the one thing that I've been holding on to, that I've been keeping secret, that's been kind of like the thing that has been saving me, I've now screwed up, and I don't really know how to fix it. Syl can't even really tell me how to fix it, except to say that I have to find the words, right? And so that's kind of a tough situation for him to find himself in, especially since he's now fallen to the bottom of a chasm, or will be falling. A lot of little tidbits though that I like that Dak pointed out, the whole Shallan, Adolin, Kaladin kind of thing that's going on here. And I feel like it kind of lends credence to maybe my theory that eventually they'll all be friends, like the three of them, because obviously, Kaladin and Adolin are getting along a little better. Shallan's obviously going to be in Adolin's life if things continue to move the way that they're moving, and so maybe they'll all end up being friends. That would be nice, for them to be friends, I think. And so really we were left with this cliffhanger, and I'm just like, what's going to happen next? I'll kind of save that for predicaments, but I do have some thoughts about that. And so I'm just kind of excited to finally get into the meat, possibly close to the Sanderlanche territory of this book. The first book, I feel like, was let me say this. I think this book has been paced a little bit better than the last book, but there's still like this feeling of like, okay, something needs to happen. Let's get going, right? We're in the second book of a 5-book series, and so I'm hoping the third book just starts being jam packed with things, but I guess we'll see when we get there. I don't know.
Lots of jam. Got it.
Yeah.
Coming down.
I think he could be dead. We'll have somebody else do his jamming. But yeah, I hope it's packed. I hope it's chock full of good stuff. Chock full of nuts. Chock full of flavor.
Chock full of nuts. Yep.
Anyway, I'm excited. I want to read more.
I like the way Kaladin's having this problem with Syl, like you're talking about. And it's like, and especially now that he's going to be at the bottom of a chasm, apparently, and we know that if everything was copacetic, Kaladin can fly right out of that chasm, or walk up the side or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It seems like if we've now dropped him in a chasm, maybe everything's not going to work out easily for him.
No.
But I guess we'll have to wait till next time to find out about that. Or maybe it'll just we won't return to Kaladin for the rest of this part, and it'll just be like, what happened to him down in that chasm? Who knows?
Yeah, that would be a choice. I don't know that it's, but
You're like, I wouldn't say a good choice. It would be a choice. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We talk about. We talk to my kid sometimes about choices, and which one's a good choice and which one's not a great choice.
Maybe we make a better choice next time, buddy. Right?
Yeah, better choice.
Been there. Actually, while you were talking, I was reminded by the Discord. Somebody was asking, does anybody know? And so just while we're here, and I have you, we're gonna talk to somebody's like, does anybody know where the possum hunters came from? And I was like, it came during the first miss, but what they're asking more specifically is are Joe and Dak referencing anything specific with these characters, like the way the accents and the what have you?
No, that came from that came from our brains in the spur of the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that was way back in the first Mistborn book. That was 2 houses ago for us. We've moved twice since then. And,
right.
And I just saw a possum jumping from a tree onto our roof, and I mentioned it on the show, and we just did this whole bit about Scadrian possum hunters.
Right. Yeah, that we thought, it's instead of being a what we come to know as primordial chondras, instead of it being one of those, it was a possum running on the roof. And that's how it got started, really. The funny thing is, Dak says possum, and I say possum. And I don't know if we discussed this on the show. I know we've discussed it, together privately. But, Australian possums and possums in Texas, 2 different kind of animals for sure.
Yeah, very different.
Just as pesky, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So there you go, Discord folks. That we're looking for an answer to that. You got question segment a little bit early, just because I was going to forget if I didn't say it while it was on my line. Yeah. But I was like, I remember that it was during the first Mistborn era, and I'm pretty sure they just improv something out of nowhere, but I don't know specifically.
Yeah, you want to know where it came from? It came from my brain.
Where's that from? My brain.
Yeah.
Possum hunters have always been and will always be.
Yeah, if you hate the possum hunters, if you love the possum hunters, let me tell you something. There's a lot that goes on in my brain, and that's just a small fraction of.
It's not always great, but
no, that's just a small fraction of what bounces around in there. So, the inspiration for the voice would have to be just a Texas hick.
Yeah.
And some of the lines were inspired by Kill Bill, but that's pretty
yeah,
much
I was
it.
like the Sun Number One thing definitely was like a Kill Bill reference, pretty sure. But
yeah, which I don't think I did a lot of Sun Number One, and except for the actual bonus thing that we did.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving past that. Sorry, Jamie, what did you think of the chapter?
Hi, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I have things in my brain too, but I don't speak them out loud.
Jamie, did a lot of dancing once upon a time, and it's harder to improv that on the podcast than
It's true.
than what Joe and Dak are
I
doing.
could be doing some amazing interpretive dance in the background, but we are not a visual medium, so.
Oh, yeah, you get. In fact, that's official canon as of now. Jamie's always dancing. You just don't never see it.
Yeah. So the book, we're reading a book. I'll talk about the book. These chapters, yeah. So I was kind of like, there's not really a lot that's happened. Like, we're talking about things, but there's nothing really the bridge is falling down. Oh, that can only mean that there's things about to happen. So that's exciting. So before recapping these chapters, I'm really excited to read the next set of chapters. That'll be good. Probably revisiting things that have already been said by Dak and Joe. But yeah, the relationship between Kaladin and Syl is a little bit worrying at the moment, and especially with her seeming to revert to kind of how she was when they met is a bit scary. If there's a time you don't want to lose your powers, it's probably now. So I hope they can find a way through that. Fortunately, we know a guy who knows the words of Radiance. So I don't know, maybe if these characters talk to each other, they might actually be able to help each other out and progress some things there, but we'll see how we go. Dalinar's visions, yeah, like we've now gone through a book and almost 3/4 of Dalinar having these visions and nothing really coming of it. So it's interesting that it's brought into the public light, even though there's been rumors circulating about it for a really, really long time. But to have that lens of mockery over the top is a bit unfortunate. But I like the way he handled it. That was pretty cool move. So good on him. In there, Adolin and Kaladin's friendship. I thought Kaladin was a little bit more on the friendship train there when we last saw them together. But today it was like, dude, what are you doing? He's being nice to you. Like, you can see he's being nice to you. So yeah, I think Shallan said what we were kind of all thinking, which is good. But again, if there's ever a time to bond, it's probably at the bottom of a chasm. So that maybe will bring them a bit closer together. And then this stuff like Moash talking about Elhakar's assassination, I'm kind of glad that Kaladin's gone, at least he's conflicted about it. Like, yes, he said he would agree and he thinks it's the right decision, but he does appear to be struggling with the choice a little bit. So I'm glad at least it's not just like clear cut in his mind, because I was very, very concerned about that. But he's going to have to work some things out, because obviously it's affecting things with Syl and his powers as well. And, our assassin in white potentially bouncing around out there. Like, it could be, but I don't really think that's where Seth is up to at the moment. So we'll probably talk about that a bit later, but we know other people that are out in the chasms that have powers that people don't know about yet. So we'll see what that looks like in the end. But yeah, a lot of little bits and pieces, I think, starting to come together and stitch together now, which is exciting, because that always means we're coming up to the juicy end of the book. So
yeah, we are at the end of these chapters 76% of the way through, so just over 3/4 of this one. So yeah, it's gonna need to start ramping up a bit soon, as you and Joe I think have both indicated now. But I like your comment on maybe the bottom of the chasm is a great place to finally start talking to each other. Wouldn't that be nice if it forced some characters to get some stuff out in the open that they've been hiding this whole time by just being stuck in the bottom of a chasm?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a chasm fiend chasing after you and you have these abilities to get out, You know what? I'd be inclined to probably start showing some people because Adolin's suspicious as it is. Dalinar is seeing visions and things. Like, you guys have got a lot to talk through. Maybe it's all linked. Maybe. But it's like the whole thing. If people sat down and actually talked about what was going on, we wouldn't have a book, right?
Yeah. It would be so much easier if everyone just sat down and talked it out, which actually goes to your other point where Dalinar's been having these visions for so long, and there's been rumors about them for so long, but it was like his instinct was to keep these a secret because people are like, it already looked bad when there's these rumors about stuff happening to him. He's like, oh, what's going to happen if the word gets out about what it is? Maybe if he had elected to say something sooner, this wouldn't hit as hard as it seems to hit.
Yeah.
So,
you control the messaging. You get ahead of it before someone else gets to.
Yeah. So maybe talk to people sometimes. Everybody in the book. It might help you out a little bit. Last time, Jamie, you were very kind of hopeful that Kaladin is not really on board with murdering the king. Maybe this is all part of some plan somehow. And with what we read this time, it seems like probably not the case. He's not thinking about any sort of plans. So you're like, at least he's feeling bad about it now. How do you feel about where it ended up?
I think he made a decision in the heat of the moment that, like it's not some plan to trap Moash or whatever. I believe that he's pretty like, yep, okay, this is going to happen. As far as Moash is concerned, yep, it's going to happen. And, he's sitting here going, wow, like all I have to do is lead him into a particular spot. Like that's my part done. My hands are clean. They're not going to draw it back to me. But wow, it comes at a price of betraying Dalinar as well. And I'm relieved that it doesn't appear to be sitting completely well with him. I think it's something he's like, we absolutely need to have Elhokar not in power, but I wish this wasn't the way. So he does I don't think there's a secret plan in the background that I was really hoping for. He had this idea to like trap Moash in the act or anything like that. But yeah, I am happy because I think if Kaladin was like super on board with this, I would be like, this is not you. This is not your character. So at least for him to be going, oh yeah, like what do I do here? I've made 2 promises and I can't keep one of them. How am I gonna get through it? Like, do I just back out and go, no, actually, I'm not on board? At least he's thinking about it, and perhaps resolution will come up another way that he can get out of it, or he can foil the plot, or whatever it is. But it's not sitting entirely well with him. Like this is why you shouldn't make decisions the day you get out of, like solitary prison. Like, yes, people have made bad decisions and things, but, all of our characters have made bad decisions at some point or another. And yeah, for Moash's family, like that sucked and it was really, really unfortunate. And the ongoing effects of what happened obviously directly impacted Kaladin's life as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something he's particularly passionate about, but, is this the right course of action? And I'm glad that there's still at least a little bit of thought in it for him. He's not sitting there going, absolutely made the right call. You just tell me where and when, and I'll put Elhokar right there, and we'll make this thing a go. Yeah.
Being super pumped to murder a guy, other than maybe Amaram, does not seem. You're right. That wouldn't feel like in character for Kaladin to me either. I guess being conflicted feels very much on brand for Kaladin.
Yeah, nothing's easy.
There's always something that is rolling around his head and he can't decide what, or he blames himself for something or other. That's nothing is easy for Kaladin. Right. That's pretty good, a pretty fair statement, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes because it's literally, he has a really hard life, but sometimes because I think he makes things harder than they need to be.
Yeah, like promising that you will help in assassinating the king when you probably don't really want to. Like you got yourself into the situation, man. You could have dogged Moash in earlier.
Yeah. When it's literally your job to protect the king, you're really making things complicated by promising to help someone kill the king.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of talking, let's get into these chapters, I guess. We're still in the letter as our epigraphs here. So it's for 67, Spit and Bile, which is still a very unpleasant chapter title. But my path has been chosen very deliberately. Yes, I agree with everything you've said about race. including the severe danger.
We assumed that was Odium's real name.
I think that was our guess. Yes.
Because that name came up in Hoyd's letter in the last book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, Dalinar and Navani are heading to a party. He thinks for a minute about how like the Bridgemen are really impressive considering they're not career soldiers. But because they're not career soldiers, they didn't like the whole thing where their captain got thrown into prison. He's like, yeah, they probably won't let it become a problem. You're really underestimating the problem that Kaladin is going to create because of this prison thing. Then again, Dalinar doesn't know about the whole Rashon and how personal that is for Kaladin, and that was probably a big factor.
Again, because like people just don't talk to each other in these books.
Yep.
Kaladin had the golden opportunity to bring it out. It's like, yeah, that guy you like sent out there to cause no more problem. He's the reason I'm here.
He's the reason my brother died and my family was like going hungry and yeah.
Also, I do want to point out it's convenient that even though the whole thing with Moash's family seems a lot more Rashon's fault than it does Ellikar's, Moash does not give like Rashon a second thought. It's like, whatever happened to that guy? Well, can I get my revenge on him? No, but Ellikar's closer, so I'm going to I'm going to take that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Rashon is still a Light Eyes, right? But he's not a very powerful Light Eyes. Moash could probably totally sneak up if he could find him and like stab him and get away with it.
Yep.
But no, he's going after the king. He's like, I'm going to set my eyes on this very difficult. He's going to make things harder for himself also.
Yeah.
You can even work your way up to it, like kill Rashon first, and then I don't know. Dalinar isn't paying much attention, and so Navani's like, "Oh, we made a breakthrough in the design of new shard blades the other day." Like, wait, what? When can you make new ones? And she's like, No. The breakthrough was that we discovered that the gemstones that are attached to like the hilts of the blades, they weren't always there. So it turns out that after the Radiance gave up their shard blades, people could not summon and dismiss them. It was sometimes several decades later, someone figured out that if you attach a gemstone to the blade, then you can like use it to summon and dismiss it. Which means that we basically know nothing about how shard blades were made. We know less than we knew before. And he's like, I don't see how that's a breakthrough. And she has to explain it to him in a way he can understand with like a war metaphor. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it. They're planning their expedition out onto the Shattered Plains to get the Parshendi, and he's going through all the stuff that they need to bring. She's still upset about Yasna, which, yeah, when your kid dies, I imagine that it's not something you get over real quick. And she's like, did you know that she wouldn't let me be a mother to her? It's like once Yasna climbed into adolescence, she no longer needed a mother.
Brutal.
That's sad.
Yeah. I believe from what we know of Yasna that she was very independent as a teenager. I totally buy that.
I believe it. Also, I wonder if that goes a bit of a way to explaining Ellikar a bit. Navani couldn't, act as the mother figure she wanted to Yasna. She might have doubled down on Ellikar a bit, and he might be just a bit more of a spoiled brat.
Yeah, that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
And then we get a moment where Navani mentions, it's like, she says that this is the first time for me dealing with this. How did you manage it when? And then is what it says because Dalinar can't hear the name of his ex-wife, his dead wife, I guess I should say. I know you loved her, Dalinar. You don't have to deny it for my ego. I don't know what it's like in the print version. In my Kindle version, the letters they're actually it's yellow as opposed to the rest of the text, which is black, so it stands out even more.
Yeah, our font, like it's still grey, like grayscale, but it was definitely lighter.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is too. And it's just typed shh, all one word.
Yeah. I'd like that they try to make it stand out even more to be like, look how weird this is.
Yeah.
He doesn't know her name. Look how crazy.
And he has trouble answering this question because he's like, I can't tell you how I dealt with the death of my wife because I don't remember her at all.
That was how I dealt with it. I just chose to forget every goddamn thing.
I mean, I guess that's one way. And he hasn't told her about this, so she sees like that he's having an issue with this question, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too difficult a question considering like who it's coming from? Like your new love asking about your old. I get how that would be awkward for you."
Well, it's a difficult question, but not for the reasons you think.
Yeah, and he's thinking about it. It's like there's this hole there, and he doesn't even get an emotion when her name, which he can't hear, is mentioned. Like he doesn't know what to connect to her. So he thinks best to move on to another topic. And he's like, so I can't help but assume the assassin is involved in all of this, but I don't know how. My brother knew something he never shared with any of us, and I'd give almost anything to know what it was. Because you do remember Gavilar left him that like weird message at the end. You must find the most important words a man can say.
The words of Radiance? Oh my gosh, did I just crack it?
I having had spent some time in this world, I am thinking now it's like they must like the words. Yeah, if it's not the words of Radiance, I mean that probably is it. It's just one of the vows of the Knights Radiant. Like Kaladin's got to find his right words.
Maybe.
So maybe it's like Dalinar, you need to find your knightly words. And Dalinar's like, fucking, how much did I fucking drink? What does this mean?
He did drink a lot that night.
He was Uncle Drunky for a while there.
He sees High Prince Ruthar's coach going by, and he thinks that High Prince has lost all of his shards except his own blade. They'd cut off Sadeas's right hand in this mess, but the head remained, and it was venomous. I like that. That's a fun metaphor there. And Navani gives him a little speech about, like, has any good ever come from a father hating his children, as implying that, like, you know, he's trying to lead these other high princes. It doesn't help for him to, like, hate them when he's trying to do that. You aren't wit. It isn't your job to scorn them. Your job is to enfold them, encourage them, lead them. And then she goes off to the women's island because remember, men and women eat separately. We've seen it before, the Pinnacle's like feasting complex, but it's like there's all these little islands with kind of rivers made running between them, and the water's glowing because they've dumped spheres into there. And specifically now the spheres are purple to match the moon that was just rising. There's 3 moons on the planet. But
Did we know that before?
they've talked about like first moonrise and second moonrise and stuff. I don't remember if they've ever said specifically, but yes, there are 3.
I vaguely remember them saying there's 3 before, but it was, you know, just a passing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember them being coloured though.
Apparently this particular one that's up now, and I don't know if it mentions which moon it is, but the current one is purple.
Also, like, is there going to be, I feel like when there's 3 moons, that's gives you more of an opportunity for the line, that's no moon. But
maybe that'll pop up sometime. I think toward the end of the chapter, another moon is up and it's blue because they've changed the spheres to match. So that at least tells us the color of 2 of them.
Yeah, you guys hear someone playing Elvis music? Blue Moon. Wait, no, wasn't that Blue River? Shit, disregard. Moving on.
I don't know. I don't listen to much Elvis, to be honest.
Let's get Blue Moon from Greece.
Oh, that makes
Is that a song in Greece?
Yeah.
Okay. I've only seen that movie like once ever. Yep, Blue Moon, Greece. Sure enough. All right. There is a song called Moon River. I don't know that it's Elvis, but
I don't know.
Blue suede shoes, perhaps, Jack.
Blue suede shoes also a thing. Yep.
It was the moon part, not the. Anyway, moving on.
this is great. I love this.
Yeah, no, this is quality
you guys
content here.
We just talk about Elvis if you guys want.
I'd prefer not to. I mean, I don't know that much about Elvis. I know somebody went to Graceland not that long ago, but so
We went to Graceland.
Oh yeah, you told us about that. Yeah, I remember this. Dalinar's gonna go talk to High Prince Vama because that guy seemed to actually listen to some of what Dalinar said during the most recent meeting. So he's like, maybe I can, develop this further. But when he walks up to, like, Vama is there, and there's a lady from Ruthar's court named Sivi, whatever. And things are awkward when he gets there. And, like, people have been kind of, like, making fun of him behind his back for a while now. So at first, like, he notices people kind of, like, laughing behind their hands or whatever. And he doesn't think that much of it. Although he's like, the looks are, I feel like maybe there's a few more looks tonight than usual, but I don't know. But this is the moment where things start getting, like, weird. And everyone seems awkward when he walks up, and Dalinar is like, hey, I've been wanting to talk to you about something, Vama. Like, you've been doing this really great job with your light cavalry on plateau runs. How do you, like, strategically decide when to use them best? And Vama starts trying to answer, but people nearby start, like, snickering. And then it gets louder, coming from other directions. And eventually, Dalinar's like, what is going on? And Vama just says, I'm sorry, Dalinar. And then Dalinar excuses himself. And, like, what is going on here? He has no clue. So he walks up to Sadeas, who's hanging out with High Prince Aladar. He's like, what are you doing? Like, this is you, clearly. What is going on? And Sadeas is like, what? I'm feasting. And Dalinar's like, what did you do What is everybody laughing behind their hands about? And Sadie's like, oh, you always assume it's me. It's like, that's because anytime I think it isn't you, I'm wrong. So it's
Fair
you.
point.
I know it. Yeah, right? I mean, we saw that pretty
Yeah.
disastrously happen, yeah.
You know, it's just the Taylor Swift song again. Sadea should be singing it. It's like, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
And then Sadie's
Carrie-
just...
We never saw much karaoke night when Kaladin was in Sadie's camp, but they actually went down really well.
That would have been, yeah, no, I would pay to see that. But Sadius refuses to say anything. He just eats some fruit. He's like, huh, tastes good, and walks off. And Aladar starts to follow him. And Dalinar gets in one dig. Like, I never figured you for a pup to follow at his master's heels, Aladar. And then they're gone.
He's like, yeah, I don't care what you have to say. Bye.
Aladar's
But then-
actually deaf. He didn't hear him.
Yeah, maybe. Then somebody shows up. Amaram is here to talk to Dalinar. But before he gets to Dalinar, he runs into Wit. And Wit's just like, Bright Lord Amaram, I was hoping I'd be able to see you tonight. I've spent my life learning to make others feel miserable. It's a true joy to meet someone so innately talented in that very skill.
Wow.
And Amaram's just like, do I know you? Like, he has no idea who Wit is. He's like, who are you?
This
Wait,
is like
what?
the best possible reaction.
Who's talking to me like this? Nobody talks to me like this. What's happening?
Well, and Amaram actually seems to kind of trying to be nice about it, because he's like, do I know you? And Wit's like, no, but fortunately you can add it to the list of many, many things of which you're ignorant. And Amaram
Okay,
holds
again,
out his hand.
ouch.
Like,
But, all right.
I've met you now, so the list is shorter, right? And he wants to shake Wit's hand, and Wit's like, please, I wouldn't want to rub off on me. I don't even, like, it follows up with, what's it? And he's like, whatever you use to make your hands look so clean. But I don't even feel like you need that. Somebody's going to try to shake my hand. I'm like, nah, please, I don't want it to rub off on me.
It's just like, okay.
What I really like about this is the fact that Amaram's whole thing is, even though we know he's a bastard, like, his reputation is that of one of the nicest High Lords out there.
Mhm.
Because, like, even before Kaladin saw the real side of him, like, he thought, oh yeah, this is a good dude, and like, that's his reputation on the Shadow Plains. Like, he's a man of integrity. So it's nice to see Hoyd is just not buying into that and cutting him down in the worst way possible. And Amaram's trying to go like, no, I'm a nice guy. Please shake my hand. And Hoyd's like, you can fuck right off, mate.
Exactly. And also, I like the contrast between that and then Dalinar. It says Dalinar hurried over, and Wit's just like, Dalinar. No insults for Dalinar ever. He's just like, how's it going? And so, and Dalinar goes, Wit, and then he's like, Amaram, what are these papers that you've got? And he's like, oh, these are copies of things that are being passed around at the feast. Your clerk thought Brightness of Navani would want to see it. Where is she? And Wit is not going to stop. He's like, staying away from you, obviously. Lucky woman.
Oh.
And Dalinar's like, do you know what these say, Amaram? He's like, oh, I wish I didn't. I can hit you on the head with a hammer. A good bludgeoning would make you forget and do wonders for your face. Dalinar's like, I'm trying to have a conversation here, dude. Please.
It's like, look, I get it. This is your thing, but like, we are talking about something that's kind of important.
I was expecting like Wit to come back with like, now Dalinar, I was here first.
Wit's like, I'm only joking. And Dalinar's like, good. A hammer would hardly dent that thick skull of his. And Amaram turns to him and says it with a look of bafflement. And Wit's like, oh, you're very good at that expression. A lot of practice, I assume. But Dalinar at least said his name. He was like, Wit. And so Amaram's like, this is the new Wit?
He called him Wit earlier. How'd you miss that?
Yeah, he is thick.
Wit goes, I mean, I wouldn't want to call Amaram an imbecile, because then I'd have to explain to him what the word means. And I'm not certain any of us have the requisite time. Just,
Oh boy.
I love it. It's always fun.
Wit came
Amaram's
for blood
is,
tonight.
Yeah, no
He
joke.
really did.
Amaram's thick as Richard the Thick Book. Throwback.
Yep.
Also, something's telling me that Wit really doesn't like Amaram. Like, it's not. He's taking this like a lot deeper than I think he would anyone else or anyone else that we've seen. Like, he doesn't hold back, but also he's not letting up at all.
You're right.
It almost gives credence to my theory that that Hoyd is both Wit and that dude from the Ghost Bloods. What's his name? Mraize?
Yeah.
Because Mraize doesn't
yeah.
like him.
Yeah, like he's specifically their target.
Interesting point. Yeah. I feel like you're probably right. Wit just doesn't like Amaram, and maybe he knows something we don't, or maybe it's just an instinctual thing. Or I've always thought there might be a second possibility. It's just that Wit is hanging out in one place insulting people, and they just haven't moved away from him. So he just keeps going.
Just keeps going. I think that's. I don't think that's giving enough credit to Wit. Like, he really doesn't. It does not appear to like him. But we also know that Wit knows about Shallan. He knows about. We don't know how much he knows about Shallan, I guess, but we know he knows about Shallan. We know he knows about Kaladin, so he may have many reasons for not liking old Amaram.
It's true.
Yeah.
And Amaram's just like, why hasn't anyone killed this guy yet? And Wit goes, dumb luck. In that I'm lucky, you're also dumb. And I was like, thank you, Wit. And he starts pulling Amaram away finally. Like, okay, let's go somewhere else. And Wit's like, wait, Dalinar, just one more. Okay, one more. I promise I'll leave him alone.
Thank you, Wit. Thank you, Julie.
And the final one is, I salute you. You are what lesser Cretans like Sadeas can only aspire to be.
Wow.
Damn.
And finally we get away from Wit. And Amaram's like, okay, so these papers are a record of your experiences written by Brightness Navani. And Dalinar's like, okay, somebody go find me Brightness Navani. What do you think of this? And Amaram's like, well, I mean, obviously they're visions from the Almighty given to us in our time of need. I wish I'd known about these earlier. They give me great confidence in my position. And he says, a dead god can't have prophets. And Amaram's like, no, dead. No, you must have like misunderstood that. Like he's dead in the minds of men, in that they no longer listen to his commands. And apparently Dalinar has requested Amaram to look into the Herald. He says, what about that supposed Herald, the thing I asked you to investigate? And he's like, okay, I'm still investigating. So that explains why Amaram could walk into Dalinar's camp and go to the temple or the monastery where Talon was and try to interrogate him. But he made it seem like he was there like very secretively. So is he working under Dalinar's orders, or is he doing something else?
He might be using the excuse to get in there, but then he's asking his other questions.
Right. Yeah, or his time with the guy is supposed to be closely monitored, and he's like, no, I'm going to go in and do this sneakily.
And then we get a complete change of subject, where Amaram's like, I'm surprised you let that slave stay as the head of your guard.
Arya.
And Kaladin's not even here. It says he's resting after his imprisonment. And I was like, he's a good soldier. He carries some scars that are having trouble healing. And Amaram, in what I feel like is one of the ballsiest moves I've ever seen, is like, I mean, if you trust him, great. I wouldn't mind hearing an apology. Not for my own ego, mind you, but just to know that he's, put this aside.
Okay, guy.
And I'm just like, dude, why you want to poke the bear? Like, just let it go.
Dalinar could have just said, hey, while I'm at it, I could get Wit to apologize to you too. We all know how that will go.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I guess in Amaram's eyes, that is something a Light Eyes would expect to happen in that situation.
Yeah.
So he's like, by asking for it, he's giving the appearance of like, well, obviously that's not true, so I expect an apology because I'm a Light Eyes. Like, I can only imagine that's got to be why he goes for that, because he knows he fucking knows. He knows.
You know what you did.
100% knows.
You know what you did.
And then there's a very brief moment here where Navani is coming towards them, and Wit starts to insult her, and she just swats him in the face with her stack of papers and keeps going. And I love that. I love that Wit does not insult Dalinar, but he has no problem with anybody else, including the king's mom, like throwing some stuff out there.
I mean, we were all very suspicious of Navani for a long time there.
It's true.
But I just like to imagine, like, Navani does this. She smacks Wit in the face, and all the other Light Eyes gone, wait, we can do that?
Right? Like, wait. This revolutionizes these parties, quite honestly.
We can hit some guy that's insulting us? Great.
Like, we're allowed to hit the Wit?
And Navani walks up, and she goes, they added words. Like, she's not pissed about like somebody broke into her quarters or something and stole these and copied them. She's like, they changed what I wrote, and she's pissed off about that. They changed the tone. They changed my words to imply a ridiculousness to the experience. They make it sound like I'm just indulging you. And then they added commentary in another handwriting that pokes fun at what you say. And he's like, so they didn't change the visions themselves? They copied those accurately? And Navani's like, I mean, yeah. But like the tone, there's all this mockery in there. It's nauseating when I find the woman who did this. And he's like, no, it's fine. This is the act of childish men who assume I can be embarrassed by the truth. As I fear not a child with a weapon he cannot lift, I will never fear the mind of a man who does not think. And Navani frowns and he's like, it's from the Way of Kings. That one book that I know.
Yeah, and she's probably also like, I hate that book. She talked about previously like how Gavilar got obsessed with that book and she was super annoyed about it.
Yep.
I'm so fucking sick of people quoting that damn book to me.
And then he's like, you know what? All right. And he goes over to a table and picks up a pan and hands it to a serving woman so that he can climb up onto the table and look out over the whole crowd. And he's thinking to himself, like, this isn't how people in Alethkar act. Like, everyone's like, holy crap, this is not done. You don't make a spectacle of yourself intentionally. He even sees Adolin and Shallan like rushing over because he's like, they must have just arrived and heard what happened. So Dalinar announces to the crowd, what you've read is true. Commentary has been added to discredit me. The tone has been changed, but I'm not going to hide what's happening. I am getting visions from the Almighty almost every storm. There's been rumors for a while. This shouldn't surprise anybody. And I really should have probably released these before now. And from now on, everyone I receive is going to be published so that scholars everywhere can investigate. And he's like, I don't blame you guys for thinking I'm crazy. It's a natural conclusion here. There are those among you who assume I will flee or be broken. They don't know me that well. I want to speak with each and every one of you here. The words you hold may mock me, but if you must laugh, do it while looking me in the eyes. And then he stepped down from the table and he went to work. So dude spends hours just talking to everybody, just like he said he would, showing them a forceful, confident man, the Blackthorn turned politician. And he's like, let them compare me in person to what they're reading here and see what they think. So we never even get to hear like Shallan and Adolin respond. Like by the time he's done talking to everybody, they've already left. So who knows what that was going to be about. And he says that Adolin is getting fonder of this young woman than any that he's dated recently. And for that alone, he's inclined to encourage the relationship, assuming he can ever get some straight answers out of Yaakoved about her family. So things have taken a turn in Yaakoved. They're getting a little crazy there. And Wit comes over and he's like, hey, you know what? That was smart what you did. You turned an attack into a promise. I found myself without much to do. Few people sought to talk to Elhokar. All came to you instead. And Dalinar hears the implication there that basically he's acting like the king. And that's why people are coming to him instead of the king. And Dalinar's like, Wit, am I a tyrant? And Wit thinks about it. And he's like, yeah, you are. And Dalinar's like, I don't want to be. And he's
the best kind.
You're technically a tyrant, the best kind of probably not.
And this whole section is really where I feel like Hoyd, like if you could say he's interfering in a planet's affairs more than anywhere else, it is here. And it's in like these discussions he has with like down, like he's interacting with these people on a level that's very involved, which is not what we've seen from him on other planets. So you could definitely say that he's definitely involved himself more on on what the hell is this planet called? Roshar. He's definitely involved himself more heavily on Roshar than other planets. So that is interesting to me that this is different. Like for some reason he's become more directly involved here.
Well, I mean, if the letter we saw last time was from Hoyd, like you guys are thinking, then that may be the indicator of what the difference is. He's like, Odium is here and we need to stop him, was kind of what I got out of that.
Gotcha. So our sexy drifter's the secret hero.
Maybe. Let's see. He tells Dalinar, it is an era for tyrants. I doubt this place is ready for anything more. Another place, another time, I might have denounced you with spit and bile. Here today, I praise you as what this world needs. Which is something I've actually heard people complain about in some of Brandon's writing, is that we've got this example, and we've also got the example of Elend, who wants to found a democratic government, but ends up having to be like authoritarian to, help everyone survive. And I've heard people say like Brandon seems to favor this, like, well, people aren't always ready for democracy, and so sometimes you need to boss them around and tell them what to do.
Well, and I would say this, while I agree with that, we also have to understand as readers of this fiction is that their world is not in the same place as our world, right? So like what Brandon's writing doesn't fit for our modern society here and now. It fits for the worlds that he's writing. And if you look at like historical examples, obviously Julius Caesar is a bad example, right? Because he didn't give up the power after he took it, right? But if you look at other examples of ancient Rome, like that was a thing they did and it had worked in the past. They gave power to somebody during a time of turbulence who could lead them, and then that person gave up the power and they went back to a democratic like thing, right? So it works as long as the person who is doing those authoritarian things isn't corrupt. And, they're human beings, so obviously they make mistakes and they can be corrupted in certain ways. I think we're seeing that in some of our more endearing characters in Brandon's works. Like, there's this fear that we have from the Lost Metal that maybe Harmony's going to start becoming corrupted by the shard powers that he's holding. Kelsier has done a lot of things. Not saying that he was ever a completely virtuous person to begin with, but he's done a lot of things that we've kind of raised eyebrows at for what he considers is the good of all. Like, I'm gonna have to do this my way in order to get these good things accomplished. So, like, does it work for our modern society? I wouldn't say. So basically what I'm saying is I don't think Brandon's a fan of it. I think Brandon's probably a pretty good study of, like, historically the types of societies that have had to use this, the culture and societies that have had to use that kind of system in order to get things done.
That's an interesting take. I can see that. Honestly, I've always been of the opinion it may be more that storytelling is easier when you have a main character who can make all the decisions. Imagine, you remember the scenes in Well of Ascension where, like, all the different politicians are debating stuff? Like, imagine that was the main core of the book, was anytime a decision needed to be made, you had like 20 politicians debating it and they each have their own thing. Like, that doesn't lend itself well to, like, action adventure sort of stuff.
I mean, you can tell that from our talks about Well of Ascension. We're all just like, oh god, they're still talking about these things.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, you know what, the democracy can happen off page. Okay, that's we need to go now. Although I guess really in Era 2 they're running with like a democratic type government, and that doesn't stop it from being like a fun adventure romp for most of it.
Again, a lot of that was happening off page while our main characters were out having the adventure.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. A lot of those people were also corrupt.
Yeah, there's a lot of corruption there. And so Dalinar and Wit have a conversation where Dalinar basically is like, I want to be better than this. Like, you say this is a time for a tyrant, but, like, I don't like that. I want to. He's kind of taking the Elrond role here, where he's like, we should be better than this. And he does some referencing of Way of Kings, and Wit's like, I need to read that book again sometime, it seems. I wanted to warn you, I'm going to be leaving soon. And he's like, we only just got here. And Wit's like, I know, it's super frustrating. I will admit. I've discovered a place I need to be, though I'm not sure why I need to be there. And then he says, Dalinar's like, wait a second, are you one of them? And Wit says, excuse me. He goes, a herald. Oh, no, thank you, but no. And then he says, okay, but are you one of the things I've been looking for then? Like a radiant? It's like, no. I'm not a radiant. I'm just a guy, and I'm your friend. But understand that our goals do not align completely. Do not trust yourself with me. If I have to watch the world crumble and burn to get what I need, I will do so. With tears, yes. And Dalinar just frowns. And he's like, okay, well.
And this is another, like, just instance where he's, like, giving a lot more information to these characters than he has in previous places.
Well, and giving them more than they can handle, because Dalinar has no idea what to make of, like, any of the stuff he says. So it's interesting. And he says that he can't stay here because if he finds me, then I become nothing. And Dalinar's like, who? Who finds you? The one you fight, the father of hatred. And then he takes off. So, interesting. Not that I think anyone's surprised at this point that Hoid is familiar with Odium.
With Odium, yeah.
Other than Dalinar. He's surprised by this. Although I don't know that Dalinar... No, I guess Dalinar knows the name Odium because in his vision it's like, Odium killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Our other chapter is Bridges. And the epigraph here is, however, it seems to me that all things have been set up for a purpose, and if we, as infants, stumble through the workshop, we risk exacerbating, not preventing a problem. So this is, the writer has been agreeing with the first letter more or less up till now. He's like, yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Here's where we take the turn. He's like, but here's what I think. That if we try to mess around with this, we're going to screw up what's supposed to be happening. We're out on the Shattered Plains from Kaladin's perspective here, and they're taking a little field trip, a scouting mission out to, for one thing, Shallan is going to get to see a chrysalis of a chasm fiend that's already been had the heart pulled out of it, but that's also sort of an excuse. They're doing some scouting to get ready for the big expedition. And in the meantime, Kaladin is having some trouble. He's not able to, like, pull in Stormlight. He can't even feel the Stormlight in the sphere like he used to be able to. At least not As not every time he tries. He does get it eventually. And he's like, what's going on, Syl? Is something wrong with our bond? Is it because I haven't found the words? And she's acting strange too, like more simple than she has been, and more like when he first met her. And she says, you're making bad choices, naughty. And he's kind of pissed off about it. Like, what? You want too much of me. I'm not some glorious knight of ancient days. I'm broken. And she goes, that's what they all were, silly. And then zips off. And Bridge 4 is out here carrying their bridge. They've got like the old padded leather vests over their nice uniforms. But they're out here helping out.
Bridge 4 forever.
Even Renarin is out here, like he never carried a bridge before, but he's part of the group, so he gets a turn doing it too. And while they stop for a little bit, Kaladin goes over and hears Dalinar talking to one of his scouts, who's like, "Oh, we saw somebody out here. I swear it, like flying around in the sky. I'm not crazy. The other people saw it too." And Dalinar's like, "No, I believe you. It was the assassin in white, because that's the only guy we know that can fly, right?" And Kaladin's over here like, is that thing over there made of wood? What's up with that?
Totally.
And so apparently these scouts, they're vaulters. They basically pull vault from one of the plateaus to another to scout around out here, which Kaladin thinks like you have to be a special kind of crazy for that.
Yeah, that's the job. I'm just like, holy fuck, you could not pay me enough to try that.
And not only that, but they stay out here during high storms. There's like a little cubby dugout that they climb into. And Kaladin's like, yep, crazy. All right. And Kaladin's like, what if the assassin does come, even though he knows that's not who they were actually seeing out here? Dalinar's like, well, I mean, I don't see that it really makes a difference here in the palace, wherever. And Kaladin's like, I mean, I wish you'd take one of those shard blades Adolin has been winning, which is interesting. I don't know if anyone else had thought about that, but Adolin has won a bunch of shard blades, and Dalinar has not taken a single one of them. And Dalinar starts to talk. He's like, hey, about your imprisonment. And Kaladin's like, nah, already forgotten. I appreciate not being demoted. And Dalinar says, you're a good soldier most of the time. And then they look over at Renarin, and Kaladin's like, he's actually fitting in really well. I never thought I'd see the day. But apparently, since what happened in the arena, he won't practice. Renarin won't summon his shard blade. Dalinar's like, I'm not sure if his time with your men is good or bad. And Kaladin's like, if you don't mind me saying, like, your son seems kind of like a misfit, out of place, awkward, alone. And Dalinar's like, well, I mean, yeah. He says, well, then I can say with confidence Bridge 4 is the best place he could find himself. And Dalinar's like, all right, fine, I trust your judgment. And then Kaladin goes off, and we run into Adolin again, who's on his horse. And he's like, hey, I thought that, Kaladin, why are you walking? I thought you could, like, take a horse from the quartermaster. Or not from the stables, sorry. And Kaladin's like, yeah, I can. I don't want to. I trust my own feet too much. And then we get back to, he starts getting kind of mad at Syl. Like, well, you're punishing me for agreeing to help Moash? Is that why I'm having trouble here? And then he starts getting worried because she's acting weird. He's like, you seem like you were when we first met. And she tells him, you have to decide what you want. And he's like, what, are you trying to force me to change my mind? And he's like, no, I'm not trying to force you to do anything. You have to do what you think is right. And he goes, that's what I'm doing. And she's like, no, I don't think you are. Which I think we all, and Jamie in particular has mentioned, it's like, I hope that he doesn't think that this is right, what he's doing. Like, I get his opinion on it, but, or like the place that he was when he made this decision. But, and he's like, okay, fine, I'll tell Moash that I'm out. Will that fix things? And she's like, well, but you promised him. And he's like, well, I promised Dalinar too. That's the problem. I've made 2 promises and I can't keep both of them. And he says, what do I do? And she goes, you must speak the words. You have to find them. Find them soon, Kaladin. And he's standing there whispering, like, stay with me. I'll figure it out. Just don't lose yourself. I need you. And then they're starting to lower one of those big mechanical bridges. And Shallan's like, stop. She wants to get a drawing of it, like, in the process of unfolding. She's like, I've been trying to get that all day. Okay, you can go. You can continue now. And he's kind of annoyed. He's like, oh, this bizarre woman again. And then he sees a guy that he sort of recognizes, but he's not sure where he's seen him before. One of the carpenters out here working on the bridge. It's like, I know that guy from somewhere. Maybe he used to be a soldier. I don't know.
As soon as he said carpenter, I was like, oh man, he hung out around the carpenters a lot when he was in Sidaeus' camp because he would get the wood from them.
This is true. And then Moash shows up in his shard plate, which he has painted blue with red accents. And apparently his eyes really are changing, like they're becoming light.
Oh, there's the confirmation.
Yep, finally. This is a question we've had for like 2 whole books now. Does it really work? It does, apparently. And Cal's like, you don't have to salute me, Moash. You outrank me by a whole lot. And he's like, no, I'll never outrank you. You're my captain forever. And when Kaladin notes his eyes changing, he's like, yeah, but I'm not one of them, okay? I'm one of us, Bridge 4. I'm our secret weapon. He's like, secret? Dude, they probably heard about you all over the world by now. You're the first dark-eyed man given blade and plate in our lifetime. And Moash is like, hey, we're getting close. We're almost ready to, do the thing. And you won't even have to do much. It's fine.
All the dark eyes in all the world could have been given this honor, and they gave it to him.
Could have been Teft. Like that's I feel like that should be just our recurring thing. It's like
Yeah.
justice for Teft.
Justice for Teft.
So apparently the new plan is they want Kaladin to like kind of lure him, like get the king somewhere in position somewhere. So then Graves is going to shoot him with a bow. And Kaladin is conflicted about this. Like he doesn't like the king. The king is pretty bad at being a king, but at the same time, like this is kind of wrong.
Only I hadn't just promised to help assassinate him.
Yeah, right. Not only that, but he's betraying Dalinar's trust, and I think that's the worst part for him. He's like, I'm betraying this guy who I've kind of at this point, like Dalinar saved him.
And
gave
so
him,
far,
like,
Dalinar
this position.
hasn't actually done any wrong by him. Like he's kept his word the whole way.
Yeah.
Sure, there might be some things that he doesn't like, but he's done what he said he would do. He's pretty upfront and honest. And yeah, it's going to be a big blow, Kaladin.
I mean, Kaladin blames Dalinar in part for putting him in prison, but that was in order for him not to be executed.
Yeah.
Like he saved your life again.
Yeah, he stopped you
But
from
also
being
got
killed.
him out.
And then got him out, right? Yeah, exactly. I think we all agree that it's like this shouldn't be as hard a decision as you're making it, dude. Then Adolin comes back and he's like, hey, the assassin's been seen out here at night. And Kaladin's like, yeah, I heard. We need a plan. What if he attacks out here? And Kaladin's like, well, I hope he does. From what I've read about him and what we saw, like he jumps around on walls and ceilings and stuff. He can't do that out here, can he? And Adolin's like, well, yeah, but he can just fly out here. Kaladin's like, well, yeah, but we have like 300 archers with us. I think maybe we can do okay. And then they look over at Shallan, who's sketching some stuff, and Aelin's like, you know anything about women, Bridge Boy? He just has to. I get that like the Bridge Boy thing is basically his nickname, his term of endearment at this point because he's trying to be friendly, but it's still so condescending in my opinion. So he's like,
You are no longer Bridge Boy. You are now Bridge Teen.
Bridge adolescent.
Bridge Juvenile.
and I like Kaladin's reply, light-eyed women? No, I don't know a thing about them, thankfully. And Aelin's got it's like, man, people think I know a lot about women, but I really don't. I don't know how to keep them. I want to keep this one. And Kaladin's like, I mean, maybe tell her that? And he's like, do such things work on dark-eyed women? And Kaladin's like, dude, you are so asking the wrong guy. I have not had time for anything even approaching that.
You are.
You know my history, right? You know where I've been the last few years. Like,
Yeah. You
what makes
remember
you
like
think I've been
I
on the
was-
dating game.
Yeah, you remember I was a slave, right? Like didn't even see a woman except for the one who was really mean and tried to get me killed all the time.
Yeah, but married too. So.
Dalinar's been letting them, we saw like they can go to the bar and stuff now, so maybe like Adolin assumes Kaladin stepped his game up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
true.
for all Adolin
what game
knows,
there
like,
was to
Kaladin's
be
the
had.
biggest player.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. He's like, man, all the dark-eyed ladies probably flock to you. You're the only dark-eyed captain. He's like, yeah,
True.
that's not how it works.
I mean,
So I
honestly,
hate
if
them.
Kaladin put in some effort, yeah, maybe it would work that way. But
I hate everybody and everything, including myself, buddy. I don't know what you want from me.
yeah, that makes it difficult.
I hate everything and everything. I hate everyone and everything seems stupid to me.
Yeah,
Um,
Kaladin's real emo.
Yeah.
And so Adolin says we need more of a plan than just archers. And Kaladin's like, okay, well, like what? Well, I mean, you're not going to have a shard blade, Adolin says, but we won't need one because of, And Kaladin is briefly worried about this. He's like, I know. Yeah, that thing. What thing? That thing with the stuff?
I like how he's just trying to like grasp at anything to get him to say something to confirm something. Kaladin's just like, you don't know. You don't know anything.
Like Kaladin's worried for a whole second until he realizes, oh, he has no idea. This is the most awkward attempt at like fishing for information I've ever seen.
You're not very good at this, are you?
I mean, he essentially does. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And Adolin's like, something's weird about you. Admit it.
He's like, I don't know what you mean. Your
again-
girlfriend's over there. You might want to hang out with her now.
It's like, Adolin, are you coming on to me? What?
This
I'm
is a
not
little
hearing
awkward.
a
Your
no.
girlfriend's right there.
Yeah, no joke.
Oh gosh. And they end their conversation with like, Kaladin says, if we do fight him, go for the kill. Don't go to injure him or something. He might be able to heal. Just trust me. And Aelin's like, you know what? I do trust you. It's weird, but yeah, okay. And then they go over to Shallan, and she's smiling, and Catelyn's like, she probably saw an interesting bug. And Shallan's like, no, it's moss. Of course, moss.
She's got some good ears, that Shallan.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's moss. Oh, so much more interesting.
Shallan says, this moss is growing in a strange pattern. What would cause that? And Aelin's like, alcohol makes me do crazy things.
I wonder if Pattern was the one there and was like telling her, he said he thinks you're looking at a bug.
Oh,
She's
maybe.
like, no, it's moss.
Oh yeah,
I never considered that. That would be great.
100%. Yeah.
Or if Pattern's like, look at this moss, mistress. It's an interesting pattern. She's like, oh, okay.
Sidebar: Drunk Moss, great name for a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe Tipsy Algae is better.
Mm.
No, Drunk Moss is better.
Tipsy algae.
Shallan tells Aelin to hush about his alcohol joke, and Kaladin is like, I guess out here everything's so barren that there's not much to get excited about other than moss. And she's like, you hush too. Go polish your bridge or something.
Sounds so dirty.
Yeah, it does, right? And then she's like, hey, I heard some soldiers talking about a chasm fiend being spotted. Do you think it might attack us? And Aelin's like, you sound way too hopeful about something like that. And they start talking about like why we're bringing all these soldiers out. She's like, the Parshendi aren't even showing up to fight over chrysalises, right? And Kaladin and Aelin both talk about how like when your enemy changes tactics, that's when you need to worry. And Aelin goes, yeah, you're good at military thinking for a bridge boy. And Kaladin says, coincidentally, you're good at not being unobnoxious for a prince. And Aelin's like, oh, thanks. And Shallan's like, that was an insult, dear.
Aelin, for the love of God, don't thank him.
And then she goes, Aelin, would you slay this moss for me? And he's like, wait, what? Give it a good chop as a favor to your betrothed. And he does. He cuts the thing, and then he's like, women, and heads off.
As long as that's all you want me to chop.
And so underneath, like, all of this accumulated creme, which turns into creme stone, as they said, that he's just cut through, there is white rock. Like, he's thinking, you don't see white rock like this often out here. This had been quarried somewhere, which meant that there was a structure here at some point a long time ago. And Shallan's like, hey, you're smarter than you look. Good thing. And he's like, do you really have to make a quip out of everything? Like, are you that desperate to prove how clever you are? And she calls him out, like, for not only insulting Aelin, but deliberately couching it in a way that he didn't think Aelin would understand to make him look foolish when he's trying very hard to be nice to you. And she's like, you really aren't like Kaladin comes back with like a kind of unkind reply. And she's like, you really are just a hateful man, aren't you? Underneath the mock boredom and the dangerous glares, you just hate people. Is that it? She's like, Aelin is trying. He feels bad for what happened to you, and he's trying to make up for it. He is a good man.
Let's not forget, like, you told Aelin about Amaram, and Amaram took you at your word, which is the only time a Light Eyes has ever and probably will ever do that. So, like,
right?
that's not to be like sneezed at.
And Kaladin's like, he calls me Bridge Boy. He's provoking me. And she's like, yeah, because he's so like hard to get along with. Look how unlikable he is. And you look over and Aelin is like laughing with the dark-eyed water boys, and he like lets one try on his helmet and stuff. And Kaladin's just like, insufferable woman.
It's like, why do you have to make so much sense? I hate you.
And so he goes back to his bridgeman. And it's not just Renarin who's on his first bridge run. Lopin's cousins had never run bridges either, and we've got at least 3 of them here now. So,
oh God, his cousins.
But yeah, we go through the rest of the day. They're out on the plains. They're crossing to where they're going. And at one point, there's a conversation where Kaladin even offers the services of his men to like help carry bridges, as long as as Dalinar does it smart, not the way Sadeas ran bridges, where it's like, You give armor to the men, you put some people out in front of them with shields to protect them. Like, being a bridge person would not be so dangerous in that. And I was like, okay, well, if you guys are willing to do that, then let's work on that too. Okay. And as they're crossing this mechanical bridge, Kaladin looks over and he sees that same guy, the carpenter. And then it clicks. He knows where he's seen that guy in Sadeas' lumberyards. And he starts running. And Aelin sees him running and starts running also. He doesn't know what the danger is yet. He leaves Shallan behind him in the middle of the bridge and just starts running the same way Kaladin is running, assuming that this guy knows what he's doing. And Kaladin like yells, "The carpenter, stop him!" And Dalinar's also standing in the middle of the bridge. But Dalinar's been distracted by something, and Kaladin realizes it's horns. The enemy has been spotted. Dalinar turns towards the horns. The carpenter pulls the lever. Adolin, in his shard blade, grabs Dalinar. The bridge lurches, and then it collapses. So we know at the very least who's on this bridge. Shallan was left in the middle of the bridge. Kaladin's on the bridge. Adolin and Dalinar are both on the bridge, and it has collapsed. So that's a lot of people potentially falling here, in addition to who knows who else. And that's the end of our chapters. So moving into predicaments. Where are we going next? What is going to happen? We are reading 3 chapters for next time. So that's chapters 69, 70, and 71, which I forget if it was on record or not, but there's only 2 more sections, 2 more episodes before we get to the interludes. So this is not a long. And then that's the last set of interludes in the book. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The interludes are 1 episode, and then we have 5 episodes after that, and that's the end of the book.
And that Santa starts lanching.
Yeah. You gotta anticipate that. Things may take a jump there. But for right now, 3 more chapters, and chapter 69 is called Nothing. Chapter 70 is called From a Nightmare, and chapter 71 is called Vigil. So what do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen as we move into the last 25% of this book?
Those chapter titles give me nothing, so not a lot to go on there.
Fair.
As for where we're going, I feel like, I don't think Dalinar and Adolin are down in the pit, but Kaladin is, so he'll be down in the chasms. He'll be alone for a bit, and he can't use his powers, so he has to really confront who he is and what he's doing. I get the feeling Adolin will probably jump down after him at some point, because he's got the shard plate. Maybe he can jump that far, or they've got those pole vaulting dudes. Maybe Adolin can slide down the pole and then climb back up it, dragging Kaladin with him. That might be fun. But yes, I think where we're going is Kaladin will be confronted with a chasm fiend, and he'll have to kill it himself without powers and without a weapon. So how he does that, I've got no NFI, but that'll be interesting.
Yeah, killing a chasm fiend with no powers and no weapon, that I would pay to see that as well. That's gonna be a tough one.
Not really a lot else I can predict at this point, because Kaladin's story is really on hold till he gets back on top.
Or I don't know. We know that if he has his powers, he can fly right out of there, but he's having some issues with those.
He's having problems with those, so he's kind of stuck. I think we can safely say he's not going to try and assassinate Elhokar while he's down there, so that's a good thing. If he turns a corner and runs into Elhokar, I'm going to have so many fucking questions.
I mean, they didn't seem to feel like they were going to need Kaladin a whole lot for this plan. His whole job was going to be lead him somewhere we can shoot him. So they may not. They could probably do it without him.
Yeah.
He has an alibi.
Yeah.
True. Yep. 100%. Although the more I think about it, actually, if Kaladin's gone, maybe Moash is in charge of Bridge 4. He's now the highest ranking person by far who's associated with Bridge 4.
God.
So he might take over the bodyguarding the king. How easy would that make it?
Oh, Bridge 4 is now Bridge fucked.
That's a good line. Bridge 4 is now bridge fucked.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I like it. That's there's our new sign off right there for the end of every episode.
Bridge 4 is now bridge fucked.
That actually sounds like we're turning in, we're going to do a very adult adaptation of Stormlight Archive. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Oh yeah, dinosaur erotica. No thanks.
Oh god.
Nothing. I mean, I would guess maybe this is a chapter where it reminds me of Final Fantasy VII, as things often do, where you'd have these interim weird times where somebody had just fallen off of something large, or they had just been asleep. They've been unconscious, right? And there's there's the unconscious version of Cloud that's talking to himself and being like, "Hey man, you should ask some questions about what's going on. Things are weird." Or, "Hey man, you should not do what you're doing. You should do something else. Why are you messing around doing this crap?"
Cloud doesn't listen to that version of himself very much, though.
No, and with good reason. If you haven't played the 1997 game Final Fantasy VII, spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
But
30 years ago.
Some of those voices are his inner self, but some of those voices are Genova. So do with that what you will. Maybe you don't want to listen to Genova. I know I don't. So yeah, but that being said, I think this nothing chapter is that moment, right? There's this nothingness that he's plummeting into. Maybe he's having some inner monologue here. What's the next chapter called?
After Nothing is From a Nightmare.
From a Nightmare. So then that's the chasm fiend, right? I agree with that. I think a chasm fiend's going to show up. That's the nightmare. From a Nightmare. Or maybe it's Adolin's aunt / Elhokar's mom is like, oh no, my first husband died, my daughter's dead, and now the guy I was in love with all these years is also now fallen off a bridge and is probably dead. And Vigil is them maybe holding a vigil for the people they think are lost. But here's some immediate predicaments I have about maybe what's going to happen. So they're going to fall down the cliff. I do think Adolin and Dalinar both fall. I think the only reason Dalinar survives is because Adolin holds him and cradles him as they fall, because Adolin's got the shard plate on, right? Mm-hmm. So he grabs his dad, they fall, but he breaks his dad's fall with himself. So they survive. I think they're all three of those men and Shallan are going to be down in the chasm. And I don't think Shallan is going to be revealed as somebody who has powers at this point, but I do think Kaladin is. I think Kaladin's going to be down in the chasm. They're going to be faced with that chasm fiend, and he's going to have to find whatever words Syl's talking about, and that's going to break the barrier of him not being able to do the magic and all that good stuff. So he's going to have that experience down in the chasm. He's going to be able to fight the chasm fiend, save them, all that good stuff. And that was kind of my predicament going into this episode this week after reading that they all fell off the bridge. I was like, well, speaking of another Final Fantasy VII reference, falling off a bridge, that's the moment when things are going to turn and he's going to have to kind of like show them like, okay, I am this guy.
I am Moana. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm that guy. I'm the guy with the powers and stuff. And that's going to turn, I think that's going to turn things around. The Chasm Fiend's they're going to beat the Chasm Fiend. Hooray, everybody's saved. But because they're down in the chasm, maybe they run out of Stormlight during the fight like Kaladin does, so he can't like fly back up, right? Because if he runs out of the juice, he can't do the flying stuff. And so everybody thinks they're lost or gone or whatever. And so that's the vigil part and all that stuff. But, eventually they will come back. That's my predictions.
Okay. That makes sense. So we'll have four of our friends down there, and they'll take on a chasm fiend together and grow closer in the process and come back out all. Maybe Kaladin will have revealed himself.
Yeah. Not in, the public indecency kind of way.
Or it could be both, they're not mutually exclusive.
They probably should be, though.
For some reason, I can't fly. My clothes are too heavy. I must take them off.
Don't take these clothes off.
Thank you for that insight into what happens when Zap Brannigan gets powers.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel it. It's real velour.
If only Kaladin's outfit was made out of velour.
Yeah. I guess it could be. We don't know.
Oh, okay, fair.
Don't know why it would be, but.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe the uniforms are blue velour.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I'm on board with this.
Who's the Kif to Kaladin?
Taft.
Maybe Taft, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. What do I call it, Kif? Sex Lexia. Yeah.
Deft. Show them my slave brand. He points at his forehead.
It's like, yeah, well, they all see it.
But no, yeah, your thoughts make sense. I like the idea on From a Nightmare that, yeah, the Chasm Fiend could be a thing from a nightmare. I absolutely buy that. Those are scary things. So,
or thinking more of your beloved ones are dead, also from a nightmare.
Also pretty nightmarish. Yep, this is true. I mean, Navani had that very dramatic scene in the last book where when she thought Dalinar was dead, she like painted the giant justice glyph on the ground and like set it on fire.
Justice
is dead.
So Jay thinks. Anyway.
Yep. But yeah, no, that's some good thoughts, and I guess we will find out.
Or will we?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe, like I said, the rest of this part will just jump to somebody else's perspective entirely.
Yeah.
That would make me very, very mad.
We finally get we finally get some Teft perspective that everyone's been clamoring
I've been dying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teft's
well, maybe
Teft's chapter is nothing because he's back at the camp. He's like, yeah, nothing's going on here. It's kind of boring.
Maybe that's we need that. We're getting to that point where we need the other person's perspective that we haven't had, so that we get the dramatic reveal or entrance or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The nothing chapter is Rock stirring the soup, and he tastes it. Tastes like nothing.
Perfect.
So on that note, chapter titles, I don't know. It could go anywhere. It really, it depends on whose perspectives we're looking at. So I'm gonna leave them where they are. But yeah, I've been as we recapped at the start, wanting our characters to get together so that something can actually happen. And now is a perfect time for Kaladin to tell these people that he's got this ability. Adolin already thinks that there's something weird going on. You know, we're kind of learning about Dalinar's vulnerabilities in terms of the visions. Adolin, they're building a trusting relationship. They're going to be in a situation where there has to be the chasm fiend has got to be around. We've heard about one walking around, and then even just in these chapters, people are going, yeah, one's been sighted. We know that things are about to go down. Sounds like probably above and down below. So now is going to have to be a time. He's going to have to figure something out in terms of finding these words. Hopefully Phil can give him enough ability to be able to get them out of safety. I don't think that we're going to lose any of these characters in this section. I know all last book we were like, yep, Dalinar's not making it out alive. I really hope Dalinar makes it out alive, because we haven't closed his story off yet with his visions and what's going to come of that. So I think, this is a real opportunity for Kaladin and possibly Shallan to go, hey, actually, it turns out we have radiant abilities. Adolin's probably not the character that I needed in this discussion. It's really Dalinar, Kaladin, and Shallan. But it's probably good for Adolin to be there. But they can have this discussion away from people. Not that it's going to be a calm situation, but they can work some stuff out before they get back up and sort of come up with a plan of how they're going to get through the next little bit of time. But yeah, realistically, that's because we're all down here. It really depends what happens here as to how the rest of the book unfolds. So
yeah, true.
I'm reluctant to look any further at this point.
Fair. I like the note about, because last year we had predictions almost from the beginning of the book to the end that Dalinar was not going to make it through the book. And we haven't really had much of that this book. And maybe because, just like you said, there's so much about Dalinar and what he's been going through, not just his visions, although the visions are a big part of it, but like the thing with his wife and all this other stuff. Like there's so much there that we don't know, that if he died, it would be kind of sad. In addition to, we like him as a character, so that would make it sad, but still.
I also think at some point you told us that, now I guess we could still have the prologue from his perspective if he did die, but I think at some point you also told us that like one of the prologues is from his perspective. So
I don't
you
know
would
that
think.
I said that.
I thought you did.
I think you guys joked about it because he was passed out drunk the entire party. So you were like, Dalinar's perspective would just be him on the ground.
Oh, maybe that's what we said.
I think we made the assumption that the next book is the prologue is from his perspective, because the next book is the name of his sword that he gave up. So it's like that's got to be a Dalinar heavy book.
Good old Oathbringer.
I mean, Yasna's perspective was the beginning of this book, and this has not been a Yasna heavy book for sure.
No, but Yasna's also not a perspective character in general.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, really hasn't been. At least not yet.
If you guys are right, maybe there's still time. Yeah.
Oh, there's no way she's dead. Come on.
Oh, she's alive.
Don't even try to mess with us.
But yes, I like. I think Jamie was the first one in the episode to mention this idea that it's like they're all in the chasms now, so maybe they'll talk some shit out, and this will be the place where just because they're forced together like this, that some stuff will come out. Even if it's only like I think Joe predicted, like or Dak, I don't know. Even if it's only like Kaladin's powers come out into the open, that would be a big step. But there's room for a lot more than that.
Could you imagine, like, if they're all down in the chasm and Kaladin doesn't reveal his powers or some of his skill to get them out of it? Like, could you imagine how pissed off Dalinar would be later to be like, Really?
You
could
could've
You
just
could
flown
do
us?
that the whole time?
Yeah. Okay.
Especially when Adolin is already suspicious, right? So if Kaladin does nothing now, and then it comes out later that he
He
has
just looks like a real
abilities,
jerk.
like a real jerk.
I mean, Shallan is down there too, but is there anything about Shallan's abilities that we know that could help them get out of a chasm? I don't know that there is.
She could make a
I mean, it could
rock.
hide them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could hide them. Yeah, she's
yeah.
like PETA in the Hunger Games. She's real good camouflage.
Well, and maybe we've got it backwards. Maybe Shallan will be the one to go, actually, you know what? I can help us. And then she'll be the first one to reveal her powers, which then sort of helps Dalinar with, I'm putting the Radiance together. Meanwhile, you've got everybody hates Amaram down there. So yeah, I don't know that anyone wants to be on Team Amaram for reforming the Knights Radiant, but that might give Kaladin the courage or something to then come forward.
Tonight on Everyone Hates Amaram.
I guess Shallan does have like soul casting abilities, but she's never like used them at all. Yasna was like, practice with the other thing first.
Yeah, she doesn't really know how. Although turning a chasm fiend to smoke would be pretty sweet.
That would be badass.
Be awesome.
So, I mean, if it was Yasna could like create a ladder from thin air, and then everyone can just climb up. But she's not here, so
yeah.
Maybe they don't kill the chasm fiend. Maybe they tame it.
Ooh, grabs a
I've
I've
made jokes about someone riding a chasm fiend for a while now. Maybe this is the opportunity.
Yeah, the book turns into Dune. He's gonna ride the worm.
Yeah.
You know, Kaladin doesn't like other
Like
people.
the
Maybe
lobster.
he'll make friends with the chasm fiend. Like he finally finds somebody he gets along with.
He gets me. Ah!
Look how cranky that chasm fiend is. He gets it.
He understands.
Okay,
Sil, do you speak chasm fiend? Kinda. Can you translate? He wants you to get off his lawn. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. We're down here. This is his territory. That makes sense. How long is he gonna give us? He says he's gonna kill you. Oh. Well. We tried.
Okay. But now hear me out here, Sil. Tell him maybe if we stand on his claw and he throws us, we could probably get out.
Yeah. Like a chasm
Fastball
fiend
special.
catapult.
Yeah. Okay, we have a bunch of emails, and I don't think we have time to go through too many of them today, but we'll do a couple of them. Our oldest one I was saving when Dak was gone because there's a question for Dak at the end of it. But there's actually 3 emails, and it's the third one that has the question for Dak. So it might be a minute before we get there in this one. So these emails are from Niati, who sent us emails back in September is when these emails were from. So it's been a while that these did not get read.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Niati says, "Hi there. I started listening to your podcast about a month and a half ago when I was going through an Arrow 1 reread. I've now listened to Well of Ascension, Hero of Ages, Secret History, all of Arrow 2, White Sand, and Sixth of the Dusk. I'm very excited to start listening to your Stormlight episodes since this is my absolute favorite series. The Way of Kings was my first Sanderson book, and I remember being blown away by how much I loved it. I very much enjoy everything each person brings to the discussion. Jamie is a woman after my own heart and has the most infectious laugh. Dak is hilarious and has my favorite theories. And Joe brings a critical lens that's measured, honest, and refreshing, even if I don't usually agree. However, I am mainly writing this as a data appreciation email. I think you do a great job as host and Cosmere expert helping those of us who are rereaders in some cases and first-timers in others catch connections and learn tidbits we may not necessarily know. But mainly, I think it's very clear that you are a lover of the worlds and characters that Brandon has created, and this enthusiasm is the thing that has hooked me. I do have one minor criticism. I think sometimes the group is just a little too harsh on female characters who choose to embody more traditionally female things. Like Arrow 1 Allrianne being the main example of this. She loves dresses and shopping and desserts, but I think she's meant to represent that women can be strong and independent without needing martial prowess, or to be one of the boys, or to be someone stern, older, and who's gone through a particularly horrific experience a la Tindwyl. I don't really care about her character overall, and the whole using emotional allomancy on Breeze thing is skeevy all around, but it's more just that some of the dialogue around her hinted at a subconscious bias, ones I myself am guilty of having. The reason I specify Arrow 1 Allrianne... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say,
I
don't know that our issue with Allrianne was ever based in like the fact that she liked frilly dresses and things. It was more of just like the self-serving nature of a lot of her attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very just sort of frivolous and flighty and dismissive of other people's feelings. Like the whole like wrapping herself around Finn. It's like, we're going to be sisters. I'm just like, oh, that's not cool.
Yeah.
It's like forcing it upon Vin. I think that was the first thing that I was like, oh god. And yeah, maybe a personality flaw of mine. I am very big on first impressions, and then I just see what I don't like after that. So yeah, I am all for you. Be who you want to be. You can be flighty dressed. Like, I personally would consider myself a fairly girly girl. No problems with that whatsoever. But yeah, Orianne, she rubbed me the wrong way the first time we really saw her. And while, not a terrible character in the big scheme of things, she just had some traits and I was like, oh, we would not be friends in the real world.
Yeah, she definitely gives me like that, which I'm not a super huge Wicked fan, so excuse me if I'm talking in ignorance, but she just gives me like that Glinda vibe that I'm like, yes.
Oh, I can't unsee that now.
I'm seeing that movie tomorrow, so.
My wife saw the movie. She said it was wonderful.
Oh, good to know. We were going to see it at the beginning of the week, and then we saw Moana 2 first, and now we're going to see.
I quite enjoyed Wicked.
Okay. I'm excited. So the email continues. The reason I specify Era 1 Orianne is because in Era 2, once I found out it was her edict that female constables had to look, quote, feminine, I decided she can go right to hell. Anyway, thank you all for your content. I hope the group comes to love Stormlight as much as I do.
Good.
From Niati. And then there's a second email.
That was the best postscript you could have. Like,
yeah.
The fact that you held that till after we had our discussion was just perfect.
Well, I think I interrupted him, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that. I remember when we got to that point in Era 2, it was just like, Orianne still doing this stuff.
Yeah, I guess technically the ancestor of Wax.
Yep.
Yeah.
Niati sends another email. Sorry for multiple emails, but I forgot to ask. I think on an episode I listened to recently, Joe mentioned his bookshelves have a lot of manga, and I was curious which ones are his favorite. FMA is mine, and Brotherhood my favorite anime. Funnily enough, I struggled to get into White Sand because I'm not into graphic novels, but I have historically greatly enjoyed manga. 0 cents in that. Thanks again.
Yeah, FMA is good. I've never finished it because right now, for money, just for sake of money purposes, ease of money, I'm doing a subscription to Shonen Jump, and FMA is not in the Shonen Jump library. And so mainly I'm focused on those right now. I've read through quite a few. Hunter x Hunter is finally back, so I'm reading that as it's coming out. It went on a very long hiatus, so I'm enjoying that. It's changed a lot over the years, which I'm sure anybody who's read the manga kind of knows. It's changed quite a bit, and so the focus right now is very different from the previous focus. It's become very kind of intellectual and mystery novel-esque, which is not bad, but it's just a lot different than what it was in the past. Slowly working through One Piece. Of course, One Piece is very long. Only like maybe 200 something chapters in, and there's over 1,000 chapters. So I'm hoping that One Piece ends soon so that I can just read it all the way through. Probably my favorite one that I've read from beginning to end. One of my favorites is Bleach. Bleach was very good. Naruto's good. I mean, it's fine. It's not the best one that I've read, but I enjoyed it. Food Wars, I actually enjoyed quite a bit. Some of the endings of the manga that I've really enjoyed have been kind of abrupt, which I'm not a super big fan of, but I kind of get it. It's like they have to land the ship because they know, like, okay, I have this many chapters until I've told the publisher that I'm done with this thing, right? But yeah, I'm really just kind of focusing on famous ones that I've heard of that are shown in the Shonen Jump library that I can read kind of as I go. Actually, hold on. Let me pull up. There's one in particular that I'm really enjoying that is coming out week to week, and it's been out for a while. And I think they're working on an anime adaptation to it. Let me pull up my
the One Piece the One Piece like live action anime adaptation did pretty well, didn't it? So
yeah,
adapting more
I'm
things.
sure. Well, this isn't. Yeah, these are just anime adaptations, not live action. Because it's a newer manga. It's only 56 chapters, so it's only a little over a year old. But Kagurabachi, I'm enjoying that one quite a bit. It's a Shonen Jump. A brand new one that just came out about 12 weeks ago, Ichi the Witch. I'm enjoying that. And there's also one that's a little older. It's 70 something chapters in now. It's Nue's Exorcist. Also really enjoying that one. So I'm reading a lot of stuff right now because I'm just like, if it piques my interest on Shonen Jump, then I just start reading it. Oh, another one. This one's about 22 chapters in. Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. That one's pretty good too. That one's more of like, it's got kind of, the cool supernatural stuff, but also there's a pretty heavy comedic vibe in it. But then the classics, obviously, like I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, always have been. So I've read through, all of Dragon Ball Z. I'm up to date on Dragon Ball Super. Not a big fan of some of the anime adaptations of that. Like I'm not interested in watching Dragon Ball Daima. I don't like GT. I know a lot of people love the GT anime. I've never been a big fan of it. So mainly I've decided reading the manga is easier than watching the anime because I can read the manga really fast, but the anime,
Sure.
you have to sit and watch. So and because it's a show, they stretch out stuff.
I just watched on Netflix Delicious in Dungeon, which is an adaptation of a manga, but it's really weird show.
Yeah, a couple of my friends like that. It's the one where they like eat the monsters. Yeah, because they're poor. Yeah, a couple of my friends really like that show. I haven't watched it. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time to watch stuff right now, so reading on the weekends is about all I have time for.
Okay, so the third email that Niati sent, and I swear all I remembered was that there was a question that specifically was like, I want to ask Joe and Dak this, and so I was waiting for Dak to come back. I had forgotten what exactly Niati asked about, so you'll see when we get here.
Oh boy.
Okay. Okay. One more email. Sorry. One of the episodes I listened to recently, I think 180. Another listener emailed in asking Joe the same manga question I have. So never mind that, unless his opinions have changed greatly since January. Well, we're past that.
Yeah, that's fine.
However,
I mean, I've moved on to new stuff. I put in some names there that I haven't before.
However, I did have another question for Joe and Dak. As it relates to possum hunters, I'm curious if the two of them are thinking of two different animals, since Joe, as an American, would be thinking of the North American opossum, and Dak would be thinking of Australian possums. Something I thought about during an episode where Jamie mentioned seeing a real-life possum hunter's truck, and it struck me that possums down there are really very different from opossums up here.
They are. And we did talk about that. And we talked about it in this episode. Isn't that coincidental?
That put the dink in Coinky Dink.
Yeah. Well, we really didn't know that was in the email before he read it.
I totally forgot.
Complete coincidence.
Oh, so yes, your question got answered before we even got here. So
yeah. Don't you feel like, wow, they knew what I was going to ask before I asked it.
We have several more emails, but we're running long this time. Let me do this one more short one, and then we'll save the rest for a different time. This one is from Eldred. I just wanted to emerge from the shadows and finally write in. I think I started listening all the way back during Well of Ascension or Hero of Ages, and I'm usually driving while listening, so I don't have time for it. And when I do, I've forgotten. I just started to re-listen from the beginning, and I have to say that you started with a very high quality of recordings that I very much appreciate, which is not always true for these kinds of shows. Also, incorporating things that are still in the show today, like predicaments and such. Keep up the good work, from Eldred. So, yeah, we definitely picked up some stuff early on that has continued for a long, long while. So hopefully you're enjoying things like that, because it's too late now.
I think jumping to people into the Misting Crew, I don't remember when we started that, but it was somewhat early on.
Yeah, I think it was fairly early. And the timing on the Patreon, having the Patreon and then you could add the fairing power worked out really well, because we didn't know you could have a single fairing power until we got to Era 2. So
it's true.
It just coincidentally lined up pretty well, I think. Okay, yeah, we'll save. We got several other emails, but they're all pretty lengthy, so we'll go ahead and save those for another one. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on X and Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky, where I posted a picture of the socks that I got from Light Day, and then realized afterwards that some of the pins that were on there that I also bought on Light Day could be potentially spoilery if you looked closely at them and had only read up to the point of the book that we have read to. So for the three of you guys, don't look at Blue Sky, which I don't think any of you were looking at already that I knew of. So that's probably not a big deal. But if anyone's worried about super minor that you'd have to look real closely to make out spoilers, don't look at our Blue Sky post from over a week ago. when you hear this. But they did have a deal. Light Day, I don't know if you guys were aware because they did send emails, but I don't know how many have bought from Brandon's shop before. But Light Day was like Brandon decided that his company was going to do like a Black Friday thing, but they didn't want it to be Black Friday because he's like, I want to give my staff the ability to like be off and with their families that week. So it was like the end of last month that they had their like what they're calling Light Day, which is like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have our own version of Black Friday for us. And they released several new products, and I bought some, including a set of socks where there's a pair of socks for each of the 10 Radiant orders. So I got 10 pairs of socks.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. They have like the little glyph that represents each order is like embroidered onto one side of the sock, and it's got like some words on it and stuff. They're pretty comfy. But anyway, I'm advertising for Brandon's socks now. Also, they put out the new pins for purchase, including the set of 5 Colin family pins, where they put out Dalinar and Navani and Adolin and Renarin and such. So that was cool. So yes, you can find us on Blue Sky. Apparently that has gained like millions of new users recently, so I need to pay more attention to that. It's seeming like it may become a big thing as we continue moving forward. You can also find us on Patreon, where I've been putting up my reactions most recently to the Wind and Truth preview chapters. And then, I mean, Wind and Truth is coming out when I'm at the con next week. And I think it probably makes the most sense for me to just continue reacting to Wind and Truth until it's done and then go back, because I left Dragonsteel Prime like a third of the way through the book and in my reactions to it, as I've done the Wind and Truth chapters instead. So I'll probably finish that out and then go back to Dragonsteel Prime, at which point maybe I will have forgotten everything that happened in the first third of the book. But anyway, if you want to hear that sort of stuff, check out our Patreon. Remember, we're doing 3 chapters for our next episode, chapters 69, 70, and 71. So if you're following along, read those 3 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, he has Fasher. Crabback!
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.
Now hold on, there's a crying baby. 1 second.
What is it about that guy? I've seen him somewhere before.
My God, it's the Lumber King.
The Lumber King. It's the Mattress King. Run.
There was a Simpsons thing. Like, wow, that sign really makes your butt look big. I thought so too, but they said it sells. It works for the Lumber King. It's just a billboard of like this like guy with a piece of lumber poking out of his pants, and his bum is like shifting back and forth. And Homer's like, lumber, we need lumber.
Oh, Homer. I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer.
He's watching Barney. 2 + 2 is 4. I can see why this is so popular.
Where was I?
Are you evil Homer?
I am not evil Homer. What? Me?
Yeah, you.
I am evil. I have like a mix of that on as a track in my phone somewhere. I am evil Homer. Anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.